From the Canticle of the Dragon, thus began the Age of Despair. The roads were tangled.
The winds and the sandstorms dwelt in the husks of cities.
The plains and mountains became our home.
As the old gods lost their power, we called to the blank sky.
Into the cold, dividing gray, to the ears of new gods.
The sky is calm, silent, unmoving. We have yet to hear their answer.
Their answer.
Their answer.
Their answer.
We have yet to hear their answer. Avrin. The snow is falling outside. It's coming down so heavy that you can't really see the streets of Palanthus through the window of your cozy home near the docks. The lamplights, those carried by people with a need to brave the storm, and the light, the glow of candles from nearby homes dances sort of mystically, reflecting off of the wintry blanket outside. But here, within your home, you are preparing for Yuletide celebrations. It's been 1 year since you came to Palanthus and left Nightland and your previous life behind. Right now, as Avrin's sort of looking out through the window, I want to know, what's she thinking about? What does she remember?
She's thinking about how she doesn't really know how to celebrate Yuletide. As she's watching outside, she's looking at, all the candles and the different decorations that have probably already been put up around the house by the children or by Nova, the higher places by Raccoon, and then even higher places by herself, because she can walk up on walls. And she's just trying to stay as much in the moment. I think that's something she's been trying to do. Not think too hard about other things, just be there and feel everything. Not get caught up in thoughts about the past. And so she just watches and maybe makes a few mental notes about how other people are acting, and keeping an ear out for the rest of the inhabitants of the home, especially the children.
And you can hear the pound, 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 like the fast running of footsteps against a wooden floor somewhere else in the house. It's loud enough even here. Does Avrin look different? Does she dress differently now?
Avrin, when she's inside, she doesn't have the hood on. Her hair is longer now. She's letting it grow out. I think it's done in a very short braid, a little crooked. Probably two girls were fighting over how to braid it. So she doesn't know what it looks like. She doesn't really care. I think even within the white, there's a bit of a tinge of another color. as Nova had convinced her to try dyeing her hair once. It didn't hold very well, but it's there nonetheless. Other than that, she doesn't wear her armor very often anymore. She just looks a little more casual, a little more relaxed.
You can hear the jingling of a bell from somewhere down the street out of your field of vision from the window, but you can hear its echo kind of drifting through the heavy air, the cold air outside. You said that Avrin doesn't really know how to celebrate Yuletide. Has she ever celebrated Yuletide before?
Very in what way she could with her family. Now many, many years back. Certainly different than it is now. Traditions change, especially after cataclysms. And even then, she never fully participated, not being one who was attracted to being around people or being joyous. She's just kind of just piecing everything together. Some things seem familiar, but most not.
As you're sort of fighting to stay present, you hear the pound, 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 pound of feet in a nearby room, and you hear the jingling of a bell from down the street again. Does Avrin remember the Yuletide job?
Yep. Yeah, that's I think her, even as she tries to fight to be in the present, her mind does drift to that job, one of her last ones, the one where she lost two of her dearest people.
So you fight between staying in the present and moving out of the past. You hear the pound, 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 pound. And then the feet stop. You're not sure why. It's quiet in the house for a few moments. And then you hear on the front door.
Avrin immediately shoots a look towards the rooms that she already has mapped in her head, and she's like, okay, the girls are there. And she thinks it's enough distance that she walks over to the door and I'd imagine there's some form of peephole or something to kind of peer and see who's at the door.
Yeah, there's a peephole. And you know that everybody else is in the house, except for Rookone, who I think went out to get something that you need for your Yuletide tonight. Through the peephole, you just see white snow.
She'll put her hand on the handle and kind of just lean and undoes one of the traps at the door. Kind of just like with her shoulder.
Are they Avrin's traps or are they someone else's traps?
Oh, no, they're Nova's.
Okay.
But she's pretty well aware of them at this point, so she just like disarms it with her shoulder before taking the door hand and just cracking open ever so slightly.
Roll me a perception check.
Oh boy. That is a 18.
Just the bouncing of candlelight and a distant lantern light of someone walking down the street off of the snow. No one out in the front porch.
I think we'll open the door up a little bit more and just do a double check.
With an 18, I'll tell you there's no footprints in the snow leading up to your house.
Immediately shutting the door.
Nova Sparkfire. Describe to me how you enter this scene, what you look like, and you walk in basically as you see Avrin open the door, hold it open for a moment, and then shut it.
Nova has been attempting to make Yuletide dinner and make cookies, and she's been in the kitchen all day. With the help, also experimenting with some of her new kitchen helper contraptions. So there's like flour and grease, and she's got a big apron on. It's definitely not Kender sized, but she's just kind of rolled it up and tucked it into the pockets, and probably a good bit of flour in her hair too. Maybe slightly singed eyebrows from opening the oven door after getting it way too hot, and then comes in, sees Avrin at the front door. Hi there, do we have guests? Is Brooke home yet?
I don't know if I'm just hearing things or no footsteps at the door, just a knock at the door. And she closes the door.
And there's no rocks, like no one threw a rock at the door in quick succession.
It sounded like an actual knock.
Okay.
I think
I've done the whole throw a rock thing, and then a couple, like, if you want it to sound like a knock, you gotta time it right. But it's possible. But then you had to gank them and get in the house. Anyways, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Who was there?
Nope.
I don't think you're hearing things, because you've got really sharp ears. Let me check the traps. And she's going to, underneath the front, there's like a front door mat on just the inside of the door and on the exterior door. And there's like a latch on the interior one. And she lifts it up to look to see if, like, because it's basically like a pit trap underneath. If someone unwanted is at the front door, it can just fall right through. She checks in there, and I'm assuming it's empty.
Yeah, it's empty. You can tell that it hasn't been sprung.
Very suspicious. I'm gonna check the perimeter, and you see she pulls out her wand from her arm and just immediately.
I was just like, do you want me to go with you, or?
I mean, you can if you like.
What are the girls doing right now?
I've been in the kitchen all day. I'm not entirely sure.
And right at that moment, Lily runs into the room from a back hallway. You hear the pound, 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 pound of feet, and you hear the pound, pound, pound of other feet chasing behind her. Lily looks much like she did a year ago, except for she's cleaned up now. She's cut her hair very short. She's still got like some nice bangs, and it's, almost down to her shoulders, but it's much shorter than it was before. And she's been working for the neighbors, doing little chores here and there to save up money. And she's recently made her first purchase, and she's gone to a tailor, and she's had them make a very nice looking faux knight's costume. It looks like a Solamnic knight, almost like cosplay. Looks very real. And she's got a belt, her rope belt around her waist. She's got her engraved wooden sword Dawn hanging from around it. And she's bought these slightly too large for her feet male boots that she wears, on her feet beneath the actual cosplay. And that's the sound that's making that pound, 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 pound as she runs into the room and looks over her shoulder, smiling. And behind her is the young girl, Kethra. Kethra, please tell us, as you run into the room, how you run in, what you look like, what you're doing, a little bit about where Kethra is right now in this moment.
Kethra is enjoying having a playmate. So what you see is a little girl. She's about 6 years old. She has her hair done up in ponytails. And I mean, there's dirt smudged on her forehead and on her nose. And she's got her arms out like she's getting ready to grab Lily to tickle her. They've been playing tag and chasing each other through the house. And she's just wearing an oversized shirt that's been kind of cut to fit, and pants. She's disheveled. Even it's snowing outside. There's snow everywhere. How she got dirt on her, nobody knows, but it's there. She's in full tomboy mode.
And as you're chasing Lily into the room, Kethra, you and she both notice that the door's open. Some of the snow is actually blowing in from outside. So it's still snowing pretty hard. And blowing in through the front door a little bit, along with some cold air. And Nova and Avrin are standing there near the front door, kind of talking to each other.
Well, if the front door's open and Nova and Avrin are there, then that means that the traps are safe. And she goes dashing for the door to scoop up as much snow as she can to pack it up into a snowball to throw at her sister.
Nova and Avrin, you see Kethra dart for the front door, going straight for the snow.
I think Nova has a jerk reflex of kind of with her mechanical arm reaching for it, and then reins it in. Then nope, we're good. It's fine. It's just snow. But she does keep a kind of a wary eye outside.
Yeah, Alfred probably is just used to this and just sidesteps right before Kessa would collide into her.
She knows better to go running outside unless the adults are outside. There are rules, and she knows the rules, and they've been pounded in, repeated plenty of times to her, to the point where she can probably recite them back word for word. But she just stops where the snow's blowing in, just inside the doorway, and she's gathering that up as much as she can. Maybe if she can sneak a couple of handfuls from just outside, she'll grab those. And she's packing up a nice snowball and watching Lily out of the corner of her eye as she does, waiting for her moment.
And Lily's positioned herself on the far side of the couch, and she's kind of peering over the couch, just kind of barely able to see you through the door, and then she'll duck down, and then she'll rise up, and then she'll duck down.
And she's, Catherine's watching her, timing it, and then she runs around and sneaks up behind Nova and drops the snowball down the back of Nova's shirt. And then giggles and just books because she knows Nova's quick.
Nova is pretty quick. I think Nova is not expecting that. She's expecting it to go for Lily, and just immediately, just reaction is probably a firebolt just kind of comes out and hits, singes the floorboards, and she's like, oh! And then she's just like, okay, nope, it's just a snowball. Everything's good. Everything's great. It's just, whoo! And she kind of looks at Avrin that was a close one.
Yeah, I think Avrin will just kind of gesture to put the wand away.
It's probably for the best, but I am going to still take a walk around the perimeter.
Catherine's now hiding behind the couch with Lily. She went ducking back behind the couch, grabbed Lily, pulled her down, and you can hear just giggles.
Yeah, Lily's giggling too, a little more silently. It's like a giggle whisper, but she's very, very.
Nova will just
amused.
when they're giggling behind the couch, just cast frostbite just on the rim of the couch, just a little snow kind of comes over.
You hear a squeal from Lily.
Kethra too.
All right. You want to stay here, Over? You coming with? Nova's just putting on some. They're definitely. I think they're just regular human boots, but Nova calls them her snow boots, because they fit over her own shoes and everything perfectly.
Can't say I'm not curious.
All right, then. All right, girls, we're going to step outside for a minute. Don't answer the door unless they give the secret knock, okay?
Okay.
All right.
So the two of you head outside into the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you
Kethra-
doing? What's Kethra doing?
I was going to say, Kethra immediately grabs Lily's hands and they head for the kitchen to get cookies.
Oh, yeah. There's no one to stop them now.
No.
Nova and Avrin, what's your plan here? Are you just doing, just
right.
walking around the house?
All right, Avrin. I'll take the left side. You take the right side. We'll meet in the back. I can't hear you. You're whispering really quiet now.
Oh. Yeah, all right.
Okay. Nova skulks off. Sneakily.
Right.
As sneakily
you
as
both-
Nova can.
You're both being sneaky.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with Avrin. Avrin,
Okay.
roll me a stealth check.
Okay. Oh, there.
There he goes. Very stealthy.
Thank goodness for reliable talent. Whew, am I right?
Yeah, that would be a 22.
Oh, is that all? Yeah, you barely make an imprint in the snow as you're turning the corner of the house and kind of checking it out. What are you looking for in particular, Avrin?
Definitely looking for footprints or any sign of movement. Yeah, she swears somebody knocked on the door. And
Sure. Yeah, you'll roll me a perception check, and you live in the dockside district of Palanthas. This is it's a crowded but quiet little area of the dockside where a lot of people live. Many people who live here are fishermen and their families.
Okay. That is a 27.
You feel, as you're looking around, pretty certain that nobody's been here at least since the snow got deep. No signs of anybody watching you from the shadows or from nearby windows. You can hear music from one of the nearby houses, but nothing that suggests somebody or a presence is here.
Avrin is gonna try. Actually, she's gonna go up on the roof because she can. And it's a better vantage point, anyways. And weirdly feels more comfortable to her than being in the streets.
How do you imagine the roof of this home looks like? Like, how tall is it? A 2-story home? What do you think? Does she have a favorite perch?
I think that, yeah, probably like a 2-story house, and the roof is a very gentle slope, and so I think there's kind of probably where a nook is in the house, a weird outjut, I think, has caused the roof to be a little strange in that particular area, and so that's where she usually goes. And it helps that also the way up that way is a little hidden away from any of possible neighbors. So she isn't just climbing up the wall in plain view of everybody.
You kind of fit into your hidey place, your nook on the roof. And you have a good vantage point. You can see in the distance the glow of lanterns, people moving down the street into their homes, out of their homes. Not many. The storm's so bad that even on Yuletide, people are kind of keeping clear of the streets and hanging in their homes. You do feel a chill. Tell me about Avrin's feeding.
That's been an interesting thing once coming to the city. I think it required many conversations with Raccoon and Nova. Yeah, for Avern, I think she's mostly when she gets hungry and she tries to space it out as much as possible, she goes to the seediest parts of the city to find the worst people. And that's how she tries to justify it to herself.
The chill you feel on the rooftop, it's a sort of hunger. It's almost the feeling you get before you know you're starting to get hungry. And you feel that as you're sort of sitting there. You don't see anybody suspicious. You don't feel anything suspicious, just the snow. Heavy, soft. Nova, how are you approaching moving around the other side?
How deep is the snow, Dawn?
So it's not Kender height, right? But
Okay.
it's a solid foot of snow, almost.
Okay, so it's half Nova height.
Half Nova.
Height. Maybe a little under half. Yeah, Nova's pretty small for a Kender. I don't know, that's all you thought she was. Nova she's reverting back to her. She's like, it's not quite sand, but it's close enough. And she's crawling through so that way no one can see her from street level. And she's looking for signs of attempted forced entry at the windows. She's going all, guerrilla military fighter, because she's gotten a lot better. They convinced her not to make any lethal traps in near or around the house, so she's making progress.
Go ahead and give me a stealth check.
Okay.
And let's call it an investigation check.
Okay. So the stealth check is a nat 1. So they don't really get snow in the desert, so she's not quite super used to it. But investigation, that will be a 28.
So you just plod your way through the snow. You're just pushing it away from you, like you're creating a worm through it. Huge tracks.
Little
You're like,
snow
sometimes
tunnels.
You fall into it and like you get buried in it and you pop back out a moment.
Imagine there's sections where it's just the snow is a little bit higher, maybe like got swept up into a little drift, and there's just a tunnel through it, and then she keeps going.
And you checking out the windows, you're checking for any signs of forced entry or any attempts. Or
anybody nearby, additional footprints or rocks, but thrown rocks. Because she's still not discounting that.
You don't see any thrown rocks or any marks through the snow where a rock might have fallen through. But with your nat 1 on your check, Rook-Own, you are returning home from a task, and I'll let you describe where you've been, what you look like, what you're doing. The snow is heavy; it's collecting on your fur, on your horns. It's coating you in a layer of it. And as you're coming home, describe for us where you've been and what you look like right now.
So Rook-Own just got off of a shift at work, being an apprentice for a local blacksmith. He doesn't necessarily know a lot of what to do about blacksmithing, but he's sure as good as swinging a hammer. So he does that a lot, all day. But on the way home, he remembers Nova mentioning something about wood for the stove, for one of the many utensils to, we can go to bed and keep a fire going, something that she doesn't have to be conscious for. So I'm walking down the street with like 2 large arms full of firewood, and I'm walking very slowly because I'm pinning the firewood against my legs and like walking side to side because I can't move my legs or else the firewood will fall. But then another thing that if you were to see this, you would notice that a year ago, only a couple of weeks from, being in the battle for the Tower of Palanthus and being a slave, he was starved. He has gotten quite comfortable. which means he has put on a solid 100 pounds. So like all of his sinew is still there. It's just a lot more sinew and a lot in the gut. So it's like solid but big. There's a lot. He has, with Nova's cooking, has an increased grown fondness for the delicacy of good food. So imagine, if you will, all of that slowly lumbering down the road and then catching the house in view.
And because of Nova's natural 1 on her stealth check, you can see her like pop up from the snow and then go back down and like wade through it and like pop up, and then she like checks out a window. She's not being very stealthy.
Nova, is there another
rat? Oh, hi there. Hey, Rook. No, just Alvin heard a knock, and there weren't any footsteps, so I'm just doing a quick perimeter check.
Well, let me help, but can you you let me in?
Yes,
so
I can get the door. I can get the door. And at this point, you hear a little bell. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, the kitchen timer. I swear, if that thing takes off, it's gonna be real good. We're gonna be rolling in it. And she runs, hustle. She'll actually cast Expeditious Retreat to get to the front door faster. Disable the trap, open the door. It's me, Nova, and Rookone's coming, and then rushes to the kitchen.
Wait, hold up. Before are all the traps clear? I don't want to.
Yep, you're good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, so he goes sideways through the door and like takes a side step, cracks his head in the Sargus, damn it, every time, and then ducks his head under the door and scooches into the house, and then just drops all the firewood in the front of where you would enter the house.
Lily is shoving the rest of a cookie in her mouth, trying to eat
and
it before anybody knows.
Barrels into the kitchen with Expeditious Retreat, just and probably haste actually, because that's faster, and just shoo in the kitchen.
She's shoving the cookie down her mouth, chewing as quickly as she can.
That's gonna spoil your dinner. Out, out, out.
And she runs out of the room. Kethra, you see Nova speed in, and then a few moments later, Rookone bumps his head and enters into the home as well.
Kethra is right behind Lily, mouth full of cookies, crumbs everywhere, and she kind of skids to a stop when she sees Rookone. She's like, "Father! Father!" And then she realizes that she's spraying cookie crumbs and goes back after Lily down the hallway.
Catherine, this is how we get ants. Do you want ants?
Yes! And she keeps going.
Did I hear ants?
I said it.
Okay. If there's any, I've got something for that maybe. It might be highly toxic, or it might be okay. I have to test it more first.
The house is made out of wood, so let's just squash them with our feet.
We'll talk about it.
We did talk about it. We've resolved to squashing them with our feet. Wait,
what's on the first floor?
Okay. I set the wood down. Stop. Let's take a second. Let me shut the door first. I'm not trying to heat the out of doors. I'm just trying to. Anyways, there was a knock.
Yeah, and at this point, Nova's yelling from the kitchen because she's pulling. I don't think she has oven mitts, really. She just kind of gets the cord to the apron and just casts Absorb Elements whenever she needs to pull something out of the oven. She's used to fire. It's not a bother. Or she just uses, she has a metal hand. She just uses her metal hand and pulls everything out with that. Duh. And so she just pulls out on a bunch of roasted potatoes, and it smells amazing in the house. She goes, I'm not worried about heating the house. It's really not a problem.
Now, what I'm saying is, I left the door open. I don't want to heat the outside. I'm just...
Fine. All right. Well, oven's still out there.
Yeah, why?
Well, guys, we heard a knock. And then she's coming back in. Having reset the kitchen timer, which is like a little wind-up mechanism on the back.
Okay, if you heard a knock, that's one thing, but then why is she on the roof?
Because, she's on the roof? I was just gonna meet her up back. I got halfway through, and then I got distracted because you walked up, so I should probably meet her back out there.
Is the door closed right now?
I shut it. I shut it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's cut back up to Averin on the roof. So Averin, you climbed onto the roof. You can feel the beginnings of hunger. As you've said, the way you've sort of dealt with it is finding people who at least some might say deserve for their brains to be eaten. Others might argue that no one deserves to have their brains eaten. But so you've survived for the past year. You know that you have time before it really sets in.
Yeah.
The snow is beginning to collect on your clothes at this point. You've been up here for a minute.
Yeah. I think she has like basically a mental timer. Like, okay, when she feels that, like, okay, I have a couple of days. But she'll kind of shrug off some of the snow before looking once more and then stepping across the roof to head to the back, essentially.
Sure. And you do hear, around this time, you hear the conversation between Nova and Raccoon, and then you hear Nova running through the snow. You hear Raccoon bump his head, curse, and then the door shuts a couple of moments later.
Yeah. Averin's now somewhat used to it. It took a while for her to get used to a home like this. But she heads around the back and hops down where she was expecting to meet Nova, but she also knows that Nova's inside, so she's not really expecting it. And she'll probably wait like 1 minute before she starts to walk along the, as if, finishing the pathway.
Finishing the circle.
Yeah.
Do you have a backyard?
Yeah. Sure.
What's
like
what's the discernible feature of your small backyard?
I think, well, it's all buried in snow right now, so you'd only see like and stuff. I think it's a very small garden. So yeah, you just kind of see the fences and maybe some of the dried dead vines of plants. Yeah, that's what's in the backyard.
It is true that at this time of the year with the cold, all of the flowers, all of the herbs, they've died. You notice that as you continue to walk around the house in your search. You can roll me another perception check or investigation check, whatever you'd like here. Whatever you think is
one more.
appropriate.
That's a reliable talent. That's a 21 still.
A 21. With a 21.
Oh, no. I think
Uh-oh.
he froze.
That's okay. 1 second.
Oh no, you're back.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay.
With a 21, you feel more and more certain that there's nobody here. That whatever caused the sound, it's not a person. Maybe it wasn't even your door. Maybe it was the door across the street.
And taking that deep breath that she really doesn't need, but she uses to calm down. And we'll walk back up to the front door and kind of she'll do a very light knock so that nobody's standing right in the doorway.
Does she check like the ground trap or anything like that before she goes in? What's her process for entering into the home?
Yeah, she would check to make sure that it wasn't activated.
Sure.
Yeah.
Resting on the doormat of your house, not touched by the blanket of snow that waits beyond the stoop and all around, is a small bouquet of lovely exotic flowers. They're rainbow myriad of colors, and they're tied up by a golden ribbon. You can see a small handwritten note that's folded in half and tucked inside the ribbon to the flowers. Snow is just beginning to accumulate on these flowers.
I think Avron spins for a moment.
You can hear the jingling of bells from down the street, but you don't see, other than Rookon's footsteps, you don't see any approaching footsteps to the home or anybody around you.
She leans down and very carefully picks up the flowers. And she'll open up that note.
The note, not very big, even when you unfold it, has no words, just a simple inked drawing of two figures, a coiled serpent and a blooming flower.
I think that she just stands there for a long while. Trying to figure out who it could come from. Someone who knows, obviously.
And you're sort of there thinking through it. That golden ribbon, it's tied around the bouquet. It's not really a ribbon. It's like a band, gold circular band, not tied so much as just wrapped. It's about, if you were to stretch it out, wide enough that a person's head, it could just fit around a person's head.
She'll just hook her fingers in and slides the flowers out of it. And look at the circlet. And goes through the possible people, but it wouldn't be possible. She left one behind in Nightland. And she's pretty sure the others are dead.
And you're sort of stuck in this moment, Avron, of trying to be present and not being drawn back in by your past. And you can hear the laughter of children cut through that moment. Kethra and Lily somewhere inside. The voices of Nova and Rookon.
Shakes her head a little bit. And still holding on to the flowers and the circlet, she gently knocks on the door to warn anyone who would be right in the doorway before opening it.
Meanwhile, a little bit of time has passed on the inside. Let's go back to Rookon and Nova, as Kethra and Lily have run into the back and are continuing to chase each other and play tag. Now that you've settled in, you've had an argument about keeping the door open or closed. Rookon, what do you do? You're standing here around your pile of wood.
I kind of shove it all into one corner, oblivious if that corner is where we keep the wood.
but it seems like a great idea right now. So all of the wood is going to the nearest corner to be out of the way of things. And then, like I stretch and I scratch my gut. And then I walk over towards Nova and I bend all the way down and give her a kiss on the forehead.
And she'll give you a kiss in return. And she'll be like, now come taste these potatoes.
Oh, potatoes. Where'd you get those?
The market?
Which guy? Which person sold
I don't know. He was a potato guy.
Which potato guy? There's a couple.
He was shorter for a human. He had like a flat cap on, and he was like, "Oh, hello there, come and buy me potatoes." And I said, "Oh, you got potatoes."
Did he have a red beard or a black beard?
Red.
I guess I could try.
Just come taste the potatoes. You
Okay.
didn't need to know where the potatoes come from. Is not the biggest question here.
I'm a company man now. We know people, and
You work at the blacksmith.
well, he tells me things about the
About
people
potatoes?
and other stuff.
Okay.
So just look out. All right.
All right, so go to a different potato guy next time.
Just try it. I don't know.
Okay, well, just try these. And she'll scoop up some potatoes.
Is there a lot of salt in it? Because I swell. I have swelling.
No, I made sure to make sure they were low salt.
What else did you? These don't even taste like potatoes at all. This is great. What'd you put in it?
Secret recipe.
Now I'm worried. What did you? Is this gonna hurt coming out the other end?
No, it's not. I mean, there's some garlic, there's some rosemary, some thyme, a couple other things.
Okay. What's in the couple of other things?
Also, some butter, some pepper. It's just here. Have another bite.
Now there's like a kick to it. Is this like a habanero?
That's a paprika.
Okay. I don't think we should be giving the girls habanero because I feel like it'll.
No, I feel like it'd be the last time I tried that, I vastly underestimated its kick and potency, and that was not a good weekend for anybody in this house.
Oh, no, I'm glad you remembered because I don't think we could do that again.
The habanero beans was really a terrible idea.
No, it was a great idea. Just really not a great follow through. It's just in
Very
theory.
true.
We cut away from this.
I gotta turn the steaks. She goes over and turns some breaded fried steaks she's got simmering.
As this is happening, let's go to Kethra. Kethra, what are you and Lily doing at this time as you kind of like left the kitchen behind?
Catherine's goal is always to get Lily to smile and laugh, because she can get very quiet, very serious at times when she stops. And so Catherine sees it as her job this is how she takes care of her sister, because her sister takes care of her by making sure nobody messes with her. And so Catherine takes care of Lily by making sure that she's not alone, doesn't get too sad, or if she does get sad, that she's got somebody with her. So right now it's almost dinner time. They've just snuck cookies. They've probably been trying to sneak cookies all day long with Nova. So there's a little bit of a sugar rush going on. So they're playing tag. Sometimes Lily will draw the sword and Catherine will get her big stick, and they'll play fight. As Lily tries to teach Catherine how to fight, she'll pull the sword and she'll try to teach Catherine. Catherine will try to block it with the stick, and there's just all kinds of things. There are no breakable things in their room.
Roll me 1d20.
Okay.
So you run around your room and you're play fighting, her with her wooden sword and you with your stick, jumping over, tumbling over the bed onto the other side, bouncing up and down.
16.
Describe Kethra's greatest sword stick maneuver.
Okay. So Lily likes to, she'll come up high and then feint and swing down low. And Kethra's just learned how to spin her stick. So as Lily comes up high and then comes down low, Kethra is like click, click. And she's very proud of that because the stick is at least twice as tall as she is at this point.
So as Lily comes in and drives a thrust towards you, you click, click, you spin your stick, and it traps her little wooden sword, and it pulls her in and throws her off balance, and she goes leaping off of the edge of the bed, like sprawling through the air. She bounces off of the ground. She's only down for like half a second. She springs back up, kind of dazed. There are those red stinging tears at the corners of her eyes, but she's not like bawling or crying. She's just been stung. But Kethra, you see as she comes back up, her sword sort of like just scraping against the ground, barely in her hand. She's not really looking back at you. She's looking over at the desk. And there on the desk is a book. And that book is The Oath and Measure, a copy that someone in the household has procured. We won't ask how. And it's sitting there right now, and she's just kind of staring at the book, and she's beginning to walk slowly towards it.
So Kethra she sees that, she gets up, she's like, I'm sorry, and she whispers to the stick, and going to use one of her abilities, the Spirit Shield, so that she actually heals any damage that was done to Lily. And then she, seeing Lily's mood, will just kind of, she's still holding onto the stick, but she walks over and she just stands next to her, just so Lily knows that she's there. She's not taking her hand or anything like that, but just standing next to her. Do you want to try and read it? Father's home. Maybe Father will read it to us.
She turns towards you, Kethra, and she smiles, just a tiny smile. She doesn't hug you, but she reaches out with her free hand, and she gives you a sort of firm pat on the shoulder, and it strikes you as a child, not like something a child would do. It strikes you like something a grown-up would do. That kind of movement, you've seen them do that to each other before. And she gives you that firm double pat on the shoulder, nods her head, and she turns and she scoops up the large tome. She has to take it under both of her arms because the Oath and Measure, the book of rules for Solamnic Knights, it's a very large book and there's a lot of rules. And she kind of barely is able to hold on to it with her sword tucked underneath. And she goes over to the door and then stops and kind of looks back at you, hoping.
Kethra follows her. She leaves her stick behind because she's not allowed to swing her stick anywhere inside the house except in the bedroom. And she goes over and she opens up the door for Lily, and then we'll follow behind her.
As Lily is coming out of the bedroom with Kethra, and Rookone has had a new kind of potato, and dinner is getting closer and closer to being ready. That's when you hear the soft knock, 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 all of you on the door.
There it is again, but I heard it this time.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Walk over to the door, fastly swing open the door,
Hey.
look around.
Oh. Averin's right there. She's right in front of you.
Sorry, they were telling about it. There was a knock, and then no one. I got into my own ways. Sorry. Try the potatoes.
I think I will just give Rickon a pat before stepping inside, holding a bouquet of flowers and a circlet.
Oh, did you have those before?
No, they were left out on the front door.
On purpose?
I'm pretty sure on purpose.
Oh, I mean, we could put them in something, right? Nova, do we have anything we could put the? She's got what kind of flowers are those?
I have no idea.
Unknown flowers. Do we have a vase for unknown flowers?
Oh yeah, I got plenty of those. I'm trying this whole like self-watering one, and but I think the pipes are kind of frozen a little bit right now from the workshop because it's cold. So we'll just go with a regular vase for now. And she'll...
Wait, one out of glass?
I'll go for the stone one. And she goes and she grabs like a nice stone vase.
Okay, if you want, or you can do whatever you do with flowers.
Yeah, put them in water. They die real fast without any water. Not extensive testing. Oh, if you want to turn them different colors, we can put some different colored stuff in the water, and then they change colors.
We can do whatever with the flowers.
Okay. Here. So just take the flowers, stick them in a vase, put some water in there.
Yeah,
You can put these on the table. They'll be great with dinner. Not that we're eating the flowers, but they'll look real nice while we're eating.
Can we do presents?
Wait, what?
I do have a little something for everybody. So
we can do presents before dinner, right?
You know what?
Catherine's already gone. She's already scampered off. She comes
will
back.
Need time to rest anyways. I guess we could do that. Here, let me just get them off the stove.
Hold on. I feel like this should have been communicated. We were giving presents? Was I just supposed to know that?
I mean, isn't it a kind of a tradition thing?
I never got to give presents.
Also kind of like, oh shit.
Whose tradition?
A
year ago, we were not even here.
I talked to some of the neighbors. The old lady with all the cats next door is really nice.
It's Yuletide. You give presents. I never got to give presents before. I get to give presents this year. I have people to give presents to. And she's bouncing with an armful of just oddly wrapped stuff in bags. Just bouncing.
Right. I hid mine in random places throughout the house so no one would find them, so it's going to take me a couple minutes.
And I'm making mine on the spot. And he reaches over to his left, grabs a piece of firewood, rips it in half, hands it to Gethra. It's a goose. Happy Yuletide. It's your Yuletide wooden goose.
She's got her arms full, and she's kind of, so end up setting it down on top, full of presents. And she goes, what do I name it?
Whatever you want to.
Lily, we have a new game. We get to name the goose.
And Lily gets a wolf.
She takes it joyfully.
Nova and Averin, you get a mountain, Nova, and Averin, turtle.
Oh, that looks just like the one we fell off of that one time.
Happy Yuletide.
And Nova comes back with just some small bundles.
So, Catherine goes over and she hands the first present she gives is actually to Kethra, and it's not even wrapped, but it's a little rag doll that looks like her, that's got the armor, and you can see where she's drawn very, very carefully on it the bird in the crown on the chest of the bird, and it's got a little wooden sword, and it's got red hair. And so she gives that to Lily, and she goes, "Now we can play dolls." And
she takes it. She'll take the doll and she'll kind of like look it over and look up at you, and you can just see her eyes are huge. And a few minutes ago, she patted you on the shoulder and she looked very grown up, but she doesn't look grown up right now. Her eyes are huge, and she throws her arms around your neck and gives you a big hug.
And Catherine hugs her back, because I think this is probably one of the first hugs that Lily's ever given her. She hugs her back and she goes, "Sisters." And then she goes over to Nova and she goes back to the pile, and she's dragging a burlap sack that is just making a ton of noise. And she just takes the burlap sack and sits in front of Nova. And it's just full of bits and pieces of scrap metal and wire and whatever things that she could find, because Nova's always building something and always looking for stuff. And so
this is perfect. I can make so much stuff out of this.
And then
Thanks.
she goes to Auburn with her last present, or not her last, but she goes to Auburn and she hands her a little pot, and she goes, "So, the ladies down at the fish market, they say that, you know, in the summertime, the men, they have to put the stuff on, otherwise they get burned. And I told them about your sun allergy, and they said this would be good for your sun allergy."
Oh, Auburn takes it. She does the adult thing where she doesn't say anything about the effectiveness, nothing. She learned her lessons on how to deal with kids. And so she just leans down and pats Kethra on the head and probably places a kiss on the top of her head. Thank you.
Maybe you can come out and play with us in the sun sometime in the garden when it's warmer. And then she hugs her around the waist. And then her last present is, this one is very carefully wrapped. And she walks over to Rook and she says, it's for you, but it's kind of for Lily and me too, Father. And then she'll hand it to you to unwrap.
Digs his fingers into the wrapping, kind of like he doesn't tear the paper, but he just finds a way to not damage the paper and like take the present out of the gift without destroying the paper, because he wants to save the paper.
It's a book of stories for him to read to Lily and Kethra.
Oh. Have you already read it? Oh, so then we get to find our favorite story together.
Yes. It's got lots of stories about knights and dragons and princesses and elves and forests and happy endings. At least that's what the lady said.
Well, it sounds like a great time. I look forward to reading them to you. Trying to read them to you.
We'll learn to read them together.
Yeah, I like that idea. Have you had the potatoes?
Just the cookies. They're really good.
Okay, well, I won't tell anybody, but try Nova's potatoes, because if you don't, she'll be upset.
Okay, I promise.
Go get some now.
Okay. And she heads off to the kitchen, stops, grabs Lily, and drags her with her.
Lily kind of resists for a moment, then like sheepishly follows along. What about Nova? Wait, first off, is anybody else giving out any presents? For
Nova is giving out some presents.
Okay.
So Nova has 2 small things for Avron. One is a very thick leather umbrella, very wide. In case you need to go out, just for a few minutes in the sun, this should definitely help. And it's painted real pretty, so it won't attract any suspicion, And the handle, if you see, you can pop it out, and it's got a secret compartment inside, and there's a new set of thieves' tools in there, and, just some things. So there's that.
Yeah, I think Avron does try it out and tries it out inside.
Mm-hmm.
Damn any superstitions about that.
Yeah. Nova's never heard that one. She's been opening in the basement all day.
Yeah.
All right, I've got something for the girls, and she has like a small box. And inside the box is a bunch of little war minis, so they can have big battlefields. So there's some knights and little soldiers and elves and zombies. There's all sorts of different kinds of figures. They're not painted, but they're all carved out of wood and metal and stuff. And then for Rook, she has made him a custom blacksmithing apron. Now that he's definitely working at the blacksmith, it's kind of hard to find a custom Minotaur size apron and fits. Him one, and it's got embroidery on the sides, and it's very nice, very well crafted, because she's proficient in almost every tool, including Smith's tools, so she knows exactly what size pockets and things that he'd need and that kind of thing.
Rugone puts that on immediately and wears it casually like a robe.
Looks snazzy. Oh, and don't tell Lily, but I'm still working on Reardon's armor for her. She hasn't stopped growing yet, so I can't, smith it yet, but...
Are you whispering that to me or to everyone else but Lily?
Well, they're out in the kitchen right now. So...
Yeah, but you were loud.
I am not loud!
You say that, you can hear sound in the kitchen, the clatter of the minis tapping against the top of the surface of the table.
Mm-hmm.
Lily's got some of her minis set up along with the doll of herself that Kethra made for her, and she's just the doll is stomping the minis, she's just basically Godzilla-ing these minis with the doll.
Yeah, and Avron will just she'll close the umbrella and just, well, I can tell Kethra also this.
We just want you to be able to feel okay if you have to go out,
Yeah. All right.
Oh, I think while we're waiting, we should do some story time.
All right, I'll get dinner. It's all finished. I just gotta bring it out. So.
Okay. All right. Do we have? Yeah, we could eat. Do you want to eat first, or do you want to read the story first?
I'm getting kind of hungry. Not gonna lie.
Okay, let's eat first. Also,
okay.
Thanks for the apron.
I've got you a little something else too. It's another outfit, but we can't wear it in front of the
Avron's she just walks off at this point. She's like, no.
Rook's eyes get real big.
Under the sweater.
Oh, okay. Well, but we have story time.
Okay. After story, our bedtime is not the kids' bedtime.
I'm so conflicted.
You need dinner to settle before dessert, anyways. And she just starts bringing out the food.
Ketra's sitting on the kitchen counter with a pot of potatoes with a spoon because Brooke told her to eat the potatoes, try the potatoes. So she's just eating potatoes.
It's fine. I'm just gonna make the rest, just pour it all out, make them look nice. There we go. And there's potatoes. There's a platter full of breaded fried steaks because it's Rook's favorite. There's some salad and She asked Avrin if she wanted something in a box live, but I think Avrin declined, so there's just like a rabbit living in the basement now. But that's Nova's workshop, so they're not gonna find out about it anyway. Maybe she'll just hold on to it till spring and be like, "Surprise, girls! Here's a pet." She just has like some baked goods and cookies and just brings it all out, sets it in front of the fire so that way they can eat in the living room. Maybe have a comfy, cozy night in front of the fire.
Nova brings the smell of the kitchen out into the living room by the fire, and it mixes with that sort of smell of burning wood from the fireplace itself, the crackling flames. It's warm here, it's cozy, the food looks good, it smells good. You can still see through the window of the living room the snow drifting outside. It's getting darker. It was already the beginning of night, but it's getting darker as more of the lamp lights go out, more of the candles go out. There's less reflecting off of the snow. And it's just you there in the living room enjoying a nice dinner. There's the book there as well. Everyone enjoying a nice dinner, I should say, except for Avrin.
Yeah, Avrin has no signs of looking like she's being left out or ways she's.
I definitely
there.
sent you a place though.
Yeah,
like a nice, like a little, so you felt included.
And Catherine and Lily are used to this. This isn't odd. This is just Auntie Auburn.
Yeah, Auntie Auburn, she's just a little weird. That's all.
It's just she doesn't always eat with the family because she isn't always hungry. It's just it's different, but it's okay.
Avrin, watch how many of these steaks I could fit in my mouth at once.
Oh my god.
Who wants to guess?
I mean, your last record was 7, so
I'm feeling ambitious.
I'm thinking you can go for 9.
And he takes 9 steaks, squishes them together, and unhinges his jaw and attempts to shove 9 steaks into his mouth at one time.
And Catherine is now trying to shove an entire steak in her mouth at once.
As long as you chew, it's fine.
I feel like I've been kind, but Billy, I want you to make me a Constitution saving throw, please.
And Avrin has put a hand out to Kessa to be like, no, we are not shoving the whole steak.
Don, do I have any advantage left?
Yes, yeah, you actually do have 2.
All right, I'm going to use one of them.
All right, because 9 steaks.
25.
Man, yeah, that's pretty good.
25.
All right. Roll me, and I'm just making this up off the top of my head. Roll me 1d20 plus 5. That is the number of steaks you can fit into your mouth at once. Anything less than 9 is what comes back up.
Oh no.
It's a Christmas miracle. With a 15, you are able to fit, a Yuletide miracle. You fit all 9 steaks into your mouth at once without choking or any other terrible fate befalling you.
And then it takes me some time to chew them all up, and then after that, it hits my stomach and I am full. I want to gauge to see how finished everyone else is with their meal.
Lily's eaten just a small amount. She's tried a little bit of everything.
Good girl.
And that's kind of her way. She doesn't eat a lot.
Mm-hmm. But at least she tried a little bit of everything. That's all Nova asks. Just try everything.
Catherine's just eating the way that Rook is. I mean, she tries shoving the entire breaded steak in her mouth, and she's just whatever he's doing. That's what she's trying to do.
All right, everybody, thank Mama Nova for the dinner.
Thank you. And you get a big hug.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. We're going to have leftovers for a couple days, so.
Can I put my ponytails up tomorrow?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
No,
Lily
grab
doesn't
that
say
book.
thank you, but she gives you a hug too.
Grab the book. We can start story time now. Avrin, would you mind helping me out?
Yeah, of course.
Kethra washes her hands very carefully before touching.
Nova puts
Either
the food
book.
back into the kitchen, and I think she gets out some of her wood carver's tools and starts carving that mountain that Rook gave her into an actual like replica of the mountain that they fell off of, with Dargard Keep and everything.
I imagine Lily is carrying the oath and measure, and Kethra is holding the gift, the book of stories, and she'll let Lily go first.
Yeah, Lily sets down the oath and measure, sort of in front of you. And looks up at you with big eyes.
Start this today?
She just kind of stares up at you and scrunches her face a little bit, but like there's a little bit of hopefulness there. But then she looks back and she sees Kethra holding the storybook, and she looks down at the oath and measure, and she looks back at Kethra, and she looks back at you, and she just shakes her head.
No, not today.
She'll pick up the book off of the ground. She smiles, and then like gives a bigger smile to Kethra, and then she moves to the edge of the room where there's like a nightstand, and she sets the book down, the larger book, the Oath and Measure, down by the window.
For another time. Kethra, did you want to start this book of stories today?
She looks at Lily and she's like, "Are you sure?"
She doesn't look back. She's kind of like leaning over a little bit, but she nods her head.
Okay, well, come on. And she's going to go over and she's going to put her arm around Lily and kind of guide her over to Rook and wait for him to pick them each up and set them on a knee before he starts reading. And I imagine the two of them are holding the book for him.
And he turns open the cover, and then the first page is blank. He turns over the next page, looks over at Avrin. Some pretty big words here. I may need your help.
Yeah, and I think she'll go over and like pick up something from the mantelpiece and hand over. You're also forgetting these, and gives Raccoon the glasses that Nova made him.
Oh,
That will probably help.
Yeah, I slipped my mind. Kind of fastens them against his ears, and then they kind of balance perfectly on his like longer snout, so he can see. Oh, wow! Yeah, that's so much better. Here we go, and then slowly begins reading.
And Avron kind of stands over the shoulder and won't interject, but will help out when needed. A few words here and there. To just,
Yeah, Nova is sitting there in the chair, like a very small chair, kind of opposite the large chair that's for Rook. And she is just whittling that mountain into Darkguard Keep, the mountain that they fell off of, including leaving space for her to put tiny versions of them on it later. And just gets a big blanket, kind of snuggles up into it, and just kind of smiles and listens to the girls' bedtime stories, and just thinks this is nice. Different, but nice.
What's the story about, Raccoon?
A knight in shining armor, who values honor above all things, but will not compromise his relationship with his friends. A knight who believes in heroism and sacrifice for the betterment of his friends.
As Kethra listens to the story, it's being told by Rookone with the help of Avrin and Nova's glasses. What does Kethra do or think?
Catherine's, this is patience for Catherine. She doesn't get antsy or anything like that. When Rook reads, it's that's one of the few times that she's actually still. And I think she's going to look at Lily still in the costume and everybody else. And she goes, that was the shiny man. The story of the shiny man. He's stubborn.
Lily sort of smiles at you as she's sort of, even though she's still kind of holding the book open, she's kind of laid her head against Rogone's chest as he's reading. She can hear his words, feel the warmth of the fire. She can feel the vibrations of his story against his chest. And she's listening to the story and holding the book and looking across the room, out the window into the snowy night. And she smiles. And that's where our story ends. As we move on to another story in another time. Sir Riordan Pathwarden, you lay in the snow, staring upward at a glaring light. In the distance, like you were listening through a tunnel, you hear the sounds of orders being given. And then someone grips your hand and a familiar face appears. It's sort of haloed by the bright light of the sun up above. It's the white-bearded face of Albin Shortlock Hammerfist of Paladine. Oh, my friend. I do not wish to say goodbye. Not to you, but our moments now are short. And your next moments, your destiny, calls you. Some of your companions chose, when they left the Lake of Sounds, to move on with their lives. They chose to forget their time in Nightbund. But what of you, Riordan? Will you forget? Or will you choose to remember?
To remember. All of it. All of it.
Very well, my friend. I hope that you, good night, find some small measure of peace at last. You can feel his hand slipping away from your hand, and that sort of out of focus, haloed face begins to fade away, leaving just a bright, clear, blue morning sky up above. Björn Gotram. It's several weeks before the Vanguard campaign and the Battle of Throttle, where we witnessed you ride a dragon into battle and then fall, one of Solamnia's heroes. Several weeks before, and it's a cold winter's morning, you stand in the courtyard of the High Clearist's Tower, a dwarf amongst warriors and knights of Solamnia. The courtyard is covered in snow and littered with the bodies of fallen soldiers, men and women who have died defending the tower in the past day. You've been under siege by evil men, draconians, the armies of the Dark Lady, and hope is a dim and dying light. But you know, just like every other warrior here, that if the High Clearist's tower falls, then nothing will stand in the way of the dragon armies. If the High Clearist's tower falls, the city of Palanthas will fall, and all of Solamnia will fall. So out here in the courtyard, the knights are gathering around Lady Lorana, who is sharing her plan for defending against 3 evil dragons and the armies that are already approaching for another attack. But your attention is turned away from the orders and the gathering to a figure in the snow, grasping his sword but without his armor. You see Sir Riordan, looking a little older than the last time you saw him, beaten, bloodied, but alive on the ground in the snow near the fortress's great doors.
It takes me a few moments to realize who it is I'm seeing amongst all the chaos, but suddenly my eyes focus not what they once were, and I start rushing towards him, unsure whether he's still drawing breath. Reach down and see if I can rouse him. Is he awake? Riordan, my boy?
I knew you'd come. I saw you.
Of course I just... Here, let me get you back up on your feet, and I'll try and lift him as best I can.
Where are we?
I'm not sure what you want me to say. You know where we are. You know the task ahead of us.
Everything hinges on this moment. The balance. Everything.
You seem an awful lot wiser than last I remember speaking with you.
I had an excellent teacher.
Maybe you could teach me a few things, even in my twilight years.
Brightblade. Is he here?
Well, I should bloody hope so.
Right as you ask that question and you're beginning to sort of place where you are in time, in history, Riordan, you can see on the other side of the courtyard knights beginning to move off, being positioned, going and following orders. You see in her gleaming armor that you've not actually seen in probably a long time, Lady Lorana as she was then. You can hear the sounds of war drums beating in the distance, steady, slow, hungry. And right as you sort of put the pieces together, starting to realize that you can move your legs, that your body's not broken, that you're not out of life yet. You've still got some fight in you, even if you don't have your armor. You hear a terrible shriek that fills the courtyard with sound and fury.
Moments. Do I see Brightblade anywhere?
Roll me a perception check. And let me know, where are you looking?
22. He looks to the tower first.
Of course. And it's there on the battlements that you can see a lone figure, armored. Sort of hard to make out Stern Brightblade's face with the sun behind him. But you see in his hands a bow. And as you're sort of standing up and looking around, you spot Brightblade up there, bow in hand. You also see lightning exploding over the fortress's outer octagonal walls on the other side of the courtyard. And then you see the blue dragon begin to rise above that wall.
The fight is there! And he points to Brightblade and looks at his father. We must get there. That's the moment.
Then we'll make it ours. And I draw my blade.
And do I still have Second Son, the great sword?
You do. Well, so you still have Second Son, but not Absolution. That's correct.
Right.
Bjorn, just to sort of catch us up, what does Bjorn dress like when he is at war? What's his weapon of choice? What's he look like at this moment?
Bjorn is far too long in tooth to still be serving, but has refused to accept any position that would take him away from the front lines, as all of his friends, most of his family have perished there. So Bjorn is a man of combat. He carries with him a long sword, which has seen better days, much like its owner, a shield strapped to his arm. His armor, well, once it was fancy, well-made dwarven chain, is now knackered and heavily damaged and in need of some serious repairs, but worn in like a well-loved t-shirt and comfortable set of slacks, that kind of homely feel to it.
And Riordan, without your armor, after the battle at the Castle of the White Rose, remind us again, what does Riordan look like right now? How do you see him in your mind's eye?
He just has his underclothes on, the padding that was used to, that wasn't sundered by Soth. It's really nothing more than like a Union shirt, torn at all of the points of articulation, barely holding at the right sleeve where he took one of the last blows from Soth. And he looks more beggar than knight, but he still has his cloak, he still has his pride, and now he has his father and a purpose. So he is reborn.
As the two of you kind of stand up and Riordan points out to you, Bjorn, where your destiny lies, he says, that blue dragon that's rising up over the wall explodes into the air. It twists and turns its serpentine neck, and lightning spills in deadly arcs from its maw. On the dragon's back is a figure clad in heavy blue plate mail, wielding a wicked-looking spear that seems to glow in the morning sun. And the two of you catch the dragon. You see the dragon and its rider, and you begin to feel a great despair, a panic wrap its hand around your insides, your guts, your hearts. I need you both to make me charisma saving throws against dragon fear.
Dawn, we're running during all this. Is that cool?
Yes, absolutely. This isn't going to keep you from doing what you want to do, but it might affect you in other ways.
16.
A strong 6.
Despite your go get 'em attitude, Bjorn, it is affecting you deeply, and this isn't the first time I think Bjorn has encountered dragon fear. You're mentally aware of what's happening to you, but it doesn't keep your heart from pounding against the back of your rib cage, hard against your chest. You can feel sweat, even though it's a cold morning, pouring down your face as the two of you begin to run for the stairs that lead up to the battlements. The dragon rider, meanwhile, as you start running, levels its spear downward towards Lorana in the courtyard, and the dragon shrieks again, unleashing arcs of lightning that shoot down wildly to the snowy courtyard. I don't know if either of you are looking back behind you, but Lorana dives out of the way, barely avoiding being incinerated by the blast. And then you hear, as you're reaching the stairs, a thwang, and a twang. 2 arrow shots overhead above you.
Riordan will, as long as Bjorn is continuing, is still behind him, as soon as Riordan hits the stairs, he's going 2 at a time. He's studied the reports of this battle thousands of times, and he knows the sequence and the timing of events. He knows what was reported, and he knows he doesn't have much time.
Does Bjorn try to keep up at a reckless pace? Imagine these are ancient stone stairs, and they lead up to the battlements. It's a sharp spike upward. It's not an easy climb, especially with the altitude and how cold the air is. And for Bjorn, your heart, the speed it's racing, is making it very difficult for you. Do you push yourself?
Yes, it's murder on the joints in this cold climate, and carrying everything and running up a flight of stairs in full gear is not something that he's accustomed to doing often anymore. But he has had barely a moment to speak to his son, and hasn't had a chance to ask him about his condition, about whether he's fighting fit, and most certainly where his armor is. And he knows that he can't allow him to go forth undefended. So despite himself, he pushes through the pain, digs deep, and will try and keep up.
I need you both to make me athletics checks. Bjorn, yours at disadvantage because of your dragon fear.
Fantastic. Not the 20. That is a strong 11.
You push yourself, Bjorn, to keep up with Riordan, but he's taking the steps 2 at a time, and he's not hindered by armor right now. He's not as weighed down as you, and he's outpacing you. You're struggling to keep up, and you're beginning to feel dizzy as you're pounding up the steps. And there are no, on one side of these stairs, rails. If you were to lose your balance, lose your center of gravity, and topple off, it would be a nasty fall. But you do hold on enough. You keep yourself pressed up against the wall at points to steady yourself, and then you keep pounding upwards. Riordan, as you're running up the stairs, you hear another shriek from that dragon. Where you are, you don't see the arrows strike, but you've studied the battle. You know what happens. And right as you're starting to, almost at the top of the stairs, and behind you, knights are getting into position for whatever their plan is for the battle, unaccompanied, unattached to your purpose. When you explode up to the top of the battlements, you find yourself just a few dozen feet from Sturm Brightblade. And Sturm raises his ancient sword into the air, giving a knight's salute to the Dragon High Lord, the Dragon Rider, on the back of this great blue dragon's back. You can see the High Lord return that salute, and something about that strikes Sturm as odd. You can see his mustache face twist in a little bit of surprise. And then the blue dragon begins to dive. I need you to make me an initiative roll. And let me know what it is that you're looking to do here.
It's a strong 10. And he just wants to get beside him.
So like I said, you're a few dozen feet away the moment you reach the top of the stairs, and despite forcing yourself running as hard as you can, you are a little bit out of breath just for a moment. That blue dragon in that moment dives, its jaws open, preparing to slash Sturm Brightblade apart with its razor-sharp teeth. But Sturm swings his sword in a vicious arc, forcing the dragon to rear its head back or risk decapitation. Beyond Sturm, you can see that bright sun, the sun's brilliance blinding. To you right now, Riordan, the dragon and its rider appear as black silhouettes in the morning sky. But you are going to get to act first. Well, second.
He is going to, if I can use my movement to get beside Brightblade, he is going to get beside him, and not to take his spot, not to supersede a destiny, but to continue a course that should have been. And he knows what's coming. He's seen all of the reports. He readies his blade to slash down and deflect the thrust that he knows is coming. So
a prepared action to basically you're waiting for the perfect moment to do one specific thing.
Correct.
The dragon and its rider, as they see you approach, the dragon actually pulls back a little bit more for a second, and you see its serpentine maw twist, its head turn, and that lightning begins to arc out of its maw again. Riordan, make me a dexterity saving throw. I'll have Sturm do one as well.
I can see this though, right?
You can, yeah. So you have advantage on this.
Not good. Strong 10, everyone.
And I'm not going to make you make a history check because, like you've said, you've studied this thousands of times, but you know the sequence of events perfectly, and you know that that sequence has at least, for the moment, been changed probably by your presence. As this dragon unleashes just an incredible blast of lightning that strikes into 3 arcs. 2 of them strike Sturm Brightblade in his metal armor. You can see his entire body lock up, his arms, his sword shaking, but he keeps the grip on that ancient blade. One of those arcs strikes you. It's going to be 64 lightning damage.
Very well.
The dragon rider in blue armor, covered head to foot in plate, readies their spear. They pull it up to their shoulder level, but they hold there as the dragon begins to slowly drop down closer to the level of the top of the battlements. And right at that moment, right after this blinding arc of electricity that you can see above you, Bjorn, you finally reach the top of the stairs, your heart still pounding. Maybe another charisma saving throw to see if you can shake that dragon fear.
It's better. That is a strong 16.
That is just enough to break it. So you're sweating. You feel like your heart's about to explode. Your lungs are on fire. You get to the top of the battlements, and you see there the knight Sturm Brightblade, and you see Sir Riordan both standing against this dragon and its rider, both having just been blasted. As a matter of fact, you can see smoke rising from the scorched remains of what was the upper torso closed for Sir Riordan. You reach the top of the battlements. Go ahead and make me an initiative roll and let me know what it is Bjorn does.
Not much fast. I'd say a 5.
Okay.
But
What's his instinct here? Where is he moving to, or what's he doing in preparation?
He goes to move in front of both the knights standing side by side. He has a shield. He goes to essentially block passage from this spear and from this dragon attack to try and wield off some of the to ward off some of the damage, and will try to level his sword over the top of it in preparation for what is.
So as you're approaching, you've almost reached their sides. Sturm Brightblade sort of catches his breath and he looks aside to you, Sir Riordan. There's a little bit of confusion in his eyes, and he sees coming from over his shoulder Bjorn, and he lets that confusion fade away and he shakes his head. He bristles his mustache, and then he swings his sword around and readies it, stepping towards the edge of the battlements. He's almost so far that he could topple over. Right as that dragon's coming down, he swings his blade upwards. He's not close enough that he can strike the dragon's maw, but he strikes at the dragon's leg. And he bites deep into the thick blue scales of the dragon. You can see inky blood spraying down, some of it across his face, some of it falling down to the courtyard and the snow below. And afterwards, he pushes back away from the battlements just a foot or so that he's not quite so close, readying his blade again. Riordan, it's your turn.
Okay, 24:54. I completely lost sound for about a minute and a half. So I'm assuming that there was just the attack by Sturm. Was there anything else was there any dialogue or anything, or?
He looked aside to you, a little bit confused, and to Bjorn as Bjorn is approaching, a little bit confused, bristled his mustache, nodded his head, but without words, jumped back into the fray. He went to the edge of the battlements, and he struck, biting his blade deep into the leg of the dragon. The dragon's lowering down closer, and he's preparing himself as it gets closer. It's your turn currently.
And it's within melee distance, correct?
Yeah. You can't strike its head yet, but you could strike its lower body, its tail, its legs.
That is fine. -1 on all these rolls.
Okay.
17.
17 is enough to hit the dragon.
Okay, both of those get 13, 18 slashing, and 27. Do we have flanking?
No, this thing's over top of the two of you.
Fine. Let's see, 3 roll. That one's a take 2 to 11. Yeah, 12 slashing. And then third and final, 21. And that's 15 slashing.
All right. So describe these series of blows as you step up to Sturm's side to strike at the dragon.
He just follows suit. As soon as he sees Sturm take a shot at the leg, he sees the opening and figures wounding one specific spot is actually preferable to multiple wounds that it can't focus on. If it focuses on one pain, one damage, that is overriding as opposed to a death by 1,000 cuts. So he hacks into the same spot, almost going to like sever muscle, hit bone, make it compromised, to take the integrity of the dragon and like a bit of paper, just tear the corner till it almost falls off. He is looking to worry it.
And the dragon's anguish screams fill the courtyard. They fill the battlements. The stones, the loose stones around your feet actually begin to shake so hard that they come up off the ground. It turns its head up to the sky, and lightning sparks out of its mouth, shooting straight up into the air and spreading out like a cloud. You almost take off one of its legs with the continued hack, hitting that same spot that Sturm had struck first. Again and again and again. The dragon does not retreat, but it is momentarily just absolutely in anguish and rage. And in that moment, Bjorn Gotram, you are able to catch up at the edge of the battlements here with your son, with Sturm Brightblade. What do you do?
I'm going to make my first attack against it, and really hope. I'm gonna make my first attack with my longsword. So I will see these blades probably coming clean over my head, not just because of the height and elevation and aerial perspective of the dragon, but also Bjorn is a very short individual. But seeing these blades come over the top and seeing what his son is going for, that's the way we do this. And I will jump up and try and cut into the same spot. For my first swipe with my longsword for a natural 20.
Yes. So how much damage is that?
Nowhere near as much as Greg, I can tell you that. But
I also describe what this critical hit, like, really, I want to know exactly what you do here.
Well, it's going to set up hopefully my next move. But for starters, I would like to make this a goading attack. It's a dragon. It's probably not going to care much, but it's a wisdom save DC 13.
It fails.
So I jump up, probably having to sort of like grab hold of it, or sort of like use my shield to sort of bring the claw down so I can reach the same spot on it, and I just thrust my blade as deep in as I possibly can. I'm going to I'll roll damage, but my second attack, I'm going to use Commander Strike, which means I can forego an attack and give my allies within melee combat a free additional attack. And I'd like to give that to my son. So I'd like the critical to basically be the extra damage that he does with that great, massive sword that he's got. So I will just try and use it as like almost a pry bar to hold it down, and the dragon can take 28. It takes... That was minimal damage. It takes a whopping 8 slashing damage.
So Bjorn, you jump up. You use your shield to hook onto the dragon's claw. You stab into that same spot, that wounded section of its leg. You're off the ground right now, wrapped around the base of this dragon's claw, and it turns its head back down to you, finally not screaming anymore, just staring down. But as a free action, that means that Riordan gets to make an attack, right?
He looks down and, son, I'm not much of a dragon rider, if you'd be so kind. And I'll rip my blade out to give him the opening.
Free of armor and with a smile on his face at the irony of the words that are yet to be made fact, he jumps up and brings second son down, and he is looking to take that leg. It's he and his father. That's theirs now. 13, and
I'm going to give you advantage on this because I'm going to say you do have flanking with Bjorn in the air.
Okay. So with a 19 and Don, I'm going to add disarming strike to this. And okay. So this is a strength DC of 18 for the dragon, or I would disarm it. The flavor for that is I'm taking the arm. And so
I like it. What's the DC?
18.
It gets a 17. So I'm going to say you take the, I'm going to give you the claw. I'm going to give you the arm if you describe it, how you cut it off.
Okay, so let me see. Total damage would be, I get to re-roll one of those, yep. Total damage then would be 19 slashing as he jumps up, and as his father removed his blade to open the wound even further, Bjorn's weight kind of, not to be too graphic, pulling the wounded limb and spreading the sundering more. He takes the blade and just swipes it in an arc that is an orbit. It's a new moon, a fourth moon in the skies above Corinne, as he brings it down and through the arm, taking it, in whatever is considered a dragon's elbow or forearm. And as he drops to the ground, he keeps his eyes locked on the rider.
And you can see beneath the helm of the rider, their eyes locked back on you. Can't tell what their expression is, but you can see that the two of you are met. In that moment, as Bjorn, you go flying back down to the edge of the battlements, and you actually, because you dropping, this claw dropping through the air towards the courtyard, I need you to make me an acrobatics check.
I'm very dexterous. And there's a 7.
You reach for the battlements, trying to kick off of that falling dragon leg as it spirals down to the courtyard in the snow below, but you can't quite reach. You're not quite close enough. And then Sturm Brightblade's hand comes down over top of the battlements, his sword hooking into the edge of that wall to hold him in place as he leans over and just barely wrist to wrist grips your hand and swings you upwards. You come up to the top of the battlements.
Can I make a bonus action if I have a bonus action?
Absolutely.
It probably won't do anything, but it will go with my goading strike. As he brings me up, I am going to use the momentum of him bringing me up, and I will use Shield Master Shove and just slam my shield into the dragon, and just, it's a shove attack. It will do probably nothing, but I'm looking to just humiliate, degrade, and destroy this dragon as much as I can and keep it focused on me. So that would be a shove attack, contended athletics.
All right, go ahead and make your athletics. It'd be a 21 from the dragon.
It'd be a 19 from me.
And it is the dragon's turn, so I do feel like this is fortuitous. You come back up to the top, and you immediately smash your shield into this dragon as it's still lowering itself, and then it does turn all of its attention on you. You see its tail whipping around the side of its body towards you. One of its claws that has not been severed comes down and swipes at you, and its head is hooked up into the air and sort of swiveling from side to side, almost like a snake about ready to strike. And I'm going to do these 3 attacks. This is the tail attack. That is going to be, where did I put this here? That is going to be a 23.
That'll hit. Just grazed me.
A 24 from the claw attack.
Grazed me slightly further.
Make me an athletics check. Or a strength saving throw, I'm sorry, not a check.
That is a 22.
Okay, so the tail smashes you in the side and attempts to whip around you, coil around you, but you push it back and fall out of this trap. You do take 11 bludgeon damage from the tail attack, and then the claw comes down right over your face, raking you. You can feel blood, 3 pieces, one here on your forehead, one on your cheek, and one on your neck from the 3 separate claws of the beast. for 17 slashing damage. And then that head, its maw open, ichor dripping from its long yellow fangs, comes down right over top of you. And that is going to be
Sentinel.
another 20. Sentinel?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Uh, 15. We don't still have advantage, correct? Because he's back on the
Not any, because he's back on the ground, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to throw in precision strike with that.
Okay,
19.
that makes it a hit.
For 14, take that one down to 12. 13 slashing as he interposes himself. I don't know what that, flavor-wise, I don't know what that does, Don, but he's just gives it a shot as it comes in.
I'm going to roll 1d2 because he goading strike too, so I feel like...
Right.
1, it stays with Bjorn. 2, it moves the attack to Riordan. As you cut into its neck, even as it's bringing down its head. I rolled a 1. 23 is going to hit Bjorn. It's going to be 20 piercing damage from the bite attack, as you can feel the teeth pull into your shoulder blades. Like you can feel it ripping bone and tendon and flesh away from your shoulder.
I have exactly 20 hit points.
That puts you at 0 then?
It does indeed.
And it raises Bjorn up off of the ground, shaking him a little from side to side as he's in his maul. Riordan, it's your turn.
As it's having its fun, Riordan is, how close is it to the battlements now? Has it been brought?
It's right on the battlements. Yeah, you can reach its head. To get to the rider, you would have to try something reckless.
Let's save that for a moment. He's going to Okay, Don. Let's have a discussion real quick.
Okay.
I know that in the past, in this wonderful campaign, we have used flavor for certain abilities that we have. So here's the flavor that I would like to propose. I have a thing called Second Wind, and I was wondering if there would be a way that I could use Second Wind in conjunction with a superiority die to give the benefits of said Second Wind to my father as I attempt to launch into the air at the dragon.
I also have a second wind, which I have not rolled.
So if you both give your second winds up, then I will allow Bjorn to use his second wind at 0 hit points. He's like right on the edge.
Right. I assume that if I give up my second wind, it's not like activating it so I can't get that little power I have with it. This is like me giving it up, right? Okay.
That's right.
That's all I need to know. I would do so gladly to fire back up the dwarf that is already aloft. I'm going to launch 3 attacks, though, at this sumbitch.
Okay. Let's say 2 before you make the attacks. Let's resolve this second wind moment, what this is.
Sure.
Bjorn, go ahead and roll your second wind. Let me know how many hit points you're getting back.
1d10 plus 5. 7 plus 5. Okay. That's I'm back up to 12 hit points.
You can hear your son's voice in the darkness just for a moment. Memory, it's fleeting. It's something from when he was a much younger man, and you were a slightly younger dwarf. And you're trying to grasp onto that moment in time, It slips through your fingers in the dark, and then your eyes open up, and you, Bjorn, are in the dragon's maw. Its fangs through your shoulder, locking you to the inside of its maw. Make me an athletics check if you want to try to not be grappled.
Presume it doesn't count as being grappled right now.
I'm considering you grappled by its maw currently.
But
if you want, I'll allow you to try.
it.
You're not grappling it. No, it's got you in its mouth.
Okay. I'm gonna roll for it. I'm gonna roll to see what I do in this. Okay. I am not going to try and break free because I don't know if A, I can survive the fall from its maw, and B, if any of those teeth that are in me leave the wounds, there's nothing plugging those wounds. So I am going to, in this moment, try and find something to hold onto with my left hand, something to steady myself, and then I will wait for my turn.
All right. You grab onto one of its fangs that's not piercing through you, and you've got that a lock, and you can look down from its maw. You see below. It's wild. It's like kind of being in an amusement park ride. Like you're whipping back and forth through the air as below you, Sir Riordan is beginning to swing upward and attack 3 times. Riordan, describe what you're doing here and go for it.
Riordan is attempting to, now he has the arm. That was a gift that the dragon gave he and his father. He would now like the lower jaw. Because he figures with that gone, his father then will be able to do whatever it is he wants. And so he's going right for whatever hinge he can find in that kind of dual action lower mandible that it has. He is heading towards the meat of one of those hinge parts. So 18.
That's a hit.
I get to reroll both of those, so it takes it down to a 6. 9, 11 slashing, second attack, 28, 16 slashing, third attack. Ooh, that is a natural 1. There's no way I can do anything about that. I'm now going to action surge and jump out onto the dragon and go for the rider if I can.
Give me an athletics check if you want to do that.
25.
All right, describe how you jump up and climb up onto this dragon.
He gets overzealous with his last swing at the hinge at the mandible and misses, but where normally he would have pitched because of the weight of his armor, he's able to pull himself back up, and perhaps a residual memory from his own father's thinking about Riordan as a younger man. He feels younger as he takes the misfortune of the miss, spins and uses the kinetic energy to whip around almost like a discus thrower, and he turns off the battlements and leaps, and as he does so, grabs hold of one of the spiny protrusions on the back of the neck, grabs that and slings one leg over until he is facing the rider, almost in an intimate pose. The two of them locked, and she on saddle, he on neck. But he's not holding reins or spear, he's still holding his sword. Do I get to attack?
You will. She is going to strike first with the reach of the pole arm, being readied. But you'll still get your attacks. Oh, that is a natural 20.
Okay,
so
whoa,
you got anything?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see.
I just got
the attack roll. It's only damage with this one.
Okay. So that's a natural 20 on her sentinel attack as you come in. So I'm going to just roll this because it's going to be a lot. 43 piercing damage. And you can see, Riordan, as you leap up onto this dragon, you're holding on to its the bony protrusions of its spine to steady yourself. You're face to face, and like you said, it's this intimate moment with this armored figure, the Dark Lady. You can see the smoke, the mist of the morning fog and the cold seeping out through her eye holes and the mouth hole of the helm that she's wearing. And in that intimate moment, she runs you through with her spear right through the side and then pulls it back out. Where's that leave Riordan?
9 hit points.
It's still your turn.
Let's do it. 21.
That's a hit.
To reroll that, take it to 12. 18 slashing.
Okay.
Second. 18.
18 is just enough to hit.
That'll be 12, so that's 30 slashing total so far. And third and final. No, I'm pumping in. I'm gonna pump in. Oh. Okay, I didn't remember this for the first one, but I'm remembering it for this one. I'm gonna pump in a pushing attack, Don.
Okay. Now she is saddled in, so you won't knock her off the dragon necessarily unless you want to take care of the saddle. But you might be able to knock her to the side, basically like prone, so that she's not able to be effective.
Okay, let's do instead then. How about a disarming attack? And this is him ripping the spear out with his own body. So DC 18 strength for her right now.
Okay.
And the damage.
Let's see what is her strength bonus is +3. Is it strength saving throw or is it a check?
It's a strength saving throw.
Saving throw. Okay, so this is +5.
Shit.
20.
All right. So total damage is 33 slashing so far, with then the last attack's up. 24.
Okay.
13 down to 12. Reroll. So it's a 14, and I'm going to do it again. I have one more after this, but it is a disarming attack. He's going to try the same thing again.
See.
Yeah, that'll be a 21 slashing on top of it, so 54 total.
54 slashing, and she gets a 22 on her strength saving throw. So you're wrestling with the spear after you pull it out of your body. How do you strike? What are these 3 strikes as you're on top? What are you trying to do here? How do you see this moment?
He's going at this because this is the moment that he understands to change everything that comes after. This is the moment that has already been halted. It's not. He never believed that Sturm Brightblade's death was noble. He believes that it was orchestrated. He believes that there was no. Obviously, there was honor on Brightblade's part, but he was set to fail. And while ultimately the balance was corrected, he believes that this was artificially started. And so if he can stop this now, all of the lives that get lost in the Vanguard campaign, in the sacking of Palanthas, that can at the very least be abated. And so as he hits, he's doing everything he can think of to dissuade this person, the person he knows behind that mask. He's never met, but he knows the story because of his relationship with Lorana. And as he strikes, it's probably the least precision or least surgical strikes he's ever had in his life. They're more bludgeoning as they pound into Helm, where the mist and the frost escapes through the mouth and eye holes. He pounds into it, and with each one he says, "Tanis betrays you. Tanis betrays you. Tanis betrays you."
you're rattling her inside of her armor, and you could feel her body bouncing back and forth as you strike and yell and strike and yell. And for a moment, that spear she doesn't drop it, but it kind of falls to her side a little bit, and her body loosens up. You can see her eyes wide, either with rage or with pain beneath her helm. As you continue to strike again and again. And Garen, it's your turn inside the dragon's mouth. What are you doing in this moment? You could hear your son roaring. Tanis betrays you again and again.
I hear the sound of him fighting, and that snaps me out of the fogginess, the grogginess of it. I look down and realize that I'm run through, chain, just sundered from the teeth of this creature, and feel blood in my mouth, run my tongue across the inside of my mouth, and suddenly this out of it, very confused, possibly even starting to hallucinate, kind of exhausted, feebled mind thinks something to himself, grabs hold of one of the fangs, and he doesn't know if the dragon can even hear him over everything that's going on around him. But he, in the loudest voice he can muster, grips the fang and says, "Something you should know about getting old. Old folks like us know how much it hurts to lose a few teeth." And I'm going to drive the blade between two of its fangs just straight into a gum, as deep as I can.
All right. Are you using, is this any kind of superiority dice that you're using?
Not at the moment, no.
Just go for an attack, and if you spend your bonus action, I'll allow you to make me an athletics check versus DC 18 to see if you hit, if you're able to get that tooth out.
Okay. That is a lot. That's, I think, 24 to hit. 24?
That'll hit the dragon. So go ahead and roll your damage and then give me an athletics check.
Damage is maximum damage. That's an 8. That's good. That's 8 plus 2. I have such terrible damage. So that's 10 slashing damage, and then an athletics check. 16 plus 5. 21.
You rip the tooth with your sword, using it as to wedge into the gums. You rip the fang from the dragon's mouth. You can see the sparks now in the back of its maw, bright and hot in your face. It's still your turn.
Okay. I would like that to be one of the ones that was holding me in place, if that's at all possible.
Absolutely. You're not grappled anymore.
Yeah, so, but I've still got a tooth plug in that hole, and I am going to, in my short size, see that, put my shield towards the back of its throat, move forward as deep into its mouth as possible, and I'm going to just drive my sword up as hard as I can through the top of its mouth with my second attack.
Go for it.
We have flanking here, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to say this counts as flanking. I'll give it to you.
Well, it's a 17. An 8. Oh, that was so close to a 20, and then it rolled.
A 17 is actually... 5. Oh, it's plus 5? Okay, yeah. Then that's a hit.
So that is... that is... Math. 5 slashing damage. I've used my second wind. This thing, do I see the lightning still building or past the rim of my shield?
Yeah, you're not sure if your shield is going to be able to hold back this blast or not. You're not sure if maybe your shield will help turn some of the blast onto the dragon. There's no way to really know. You kind of have to guess or run for it right now. But you do stab upwards, and you can feel that sizzling black blood pouring down from the top of the roof of its mouth over your forehead, over your face.
Realizing I don't know if my shield can take this blast, I action surge, and I'm going to leave the sword in the roof of its mouth, and instead of actually striking with it, I just for flavor, I'm going to take the shield and use it like a hammer to hammer a chisel through the top of its skull. So this will be a... What do I have to make more damage? I don't think I have anything to give me more damage.
I'll allow you to make me if you're deciding to stay in the mouth afterwards, or are you trying to run afterwards?
No, I'm here.
You're here. So then I'll allow you to make me a DC 18 athletics check. If you manage to hammer it in before you get blasted potentially,
okay,
then I'll allow you to roll damage. 16.
I got another attack. Does that count as my second roll? Okay.
I'll allow you to do it again. Yeah.
I don't have Indomitable.
So you're beaten, like it's really hard to force this sword up into it, and you can see that energy building. What's your second attack? What's your second athletics check?
I am level 5. This is so. I'm in a dragon. That's a strong 3 plus 5.
You're just slamming it up into the dragon's head further, trying to force that blade up, but it's stuck and it's not budging. Meanwhile, on top of the dragon is the Dark Lady, the Blue Lady, the Dragon High Lord, and Sir Riordan, who's just pounding away at her armor. And there's a moment there where you're sort of regaining your balance on this dragon's back because you're not saddled in Riordan. And the dragon starts to fall. It starts to drop backwards. And you have this moment where you're face to face. You're not sure if the dragon's going to crash into the ground, but you know that it might be impossible or very difficult for you to stay holding onto the dragon as it falls. She grips onto her saddle and she locks in. You're still like face to face. I want to give you a choice here, what you do in this moment.
He didn't see his father emerge, and so he's not going to leave here. He knows that he was given this moment by Alban to do whatever it is that was going to happen. This was the moment. And so he's going to take, instead of fleeing, he is going to, if he can, reach out and grab the pommel or whatever the dragon saddle equivalent is and pull himself forward on the spear that she has impaled him. Almost let us embrace father type moment. And as he pulls it himself forward up into her, he will look at Brightblade and simply say, balance. And then he is going to try to grab her so she can't maneuver, she can't control the beast, and he's just going to try to... He wants all 4 of them to go wherever it is they're going to go.
You look back and call back up to Brightblade, who's now probably about 15, 20 feet above you as the dragon has flown back a little ways away from the wall and is starting to fall. And he's sheathed his ancient blade once again, and he gives you a slow nod. He rubs his mustache and draws his bow once again. And as you're falling, you there embraced with the Blue Lady, he fires around. And you see, just for a moment, though you're impaled and you have locked up her spear, a short blade come around towards your neck and then whip right into the shoulder of her plate mail. That arrow fires from his bow, whizzes past your ear and strikes her in the shoulder, and you manage to hold on to her in this moment. Bjorn, in the dragon's maw, you can feel yourself starting to shift around. You know that gravity is dropping from beneath you, and you have one moment. I'm going to allow you to try one more time to drive that blade upwards or to try something else. But that heat, that electricity, it's so bright now that you actually can't even see anything but the light. You only know where you are because you can feel the shield in your hands, and you can feel the sword above you.
I grip the sword in my right hand. I level my shield at the back of its throat, and then I tilt the shield at the top back, creating a platform to try and see if I can deflect this incoming barrage upwards. I'm gonna just try and balance myself and brace for this.
Roll me a dexterity saving throw, and if you succeed, then you'll take no damage. If you fail, you will take half damage. I'm going to say with your position inside the mouth.
I have a feat called Shield Master Evasion. If an effect allows half damage on success, you can use your reaction to take no damage.
Okay.
If I've got my shield.
I'll say flavor-wise, then you can redirect. Then that allows you to redirect some of this electricity if you succeed.
Okay. I do have a mod. I have +2. I don't know why I've got +2. Oh, it's that dwarven. No, it's the fighter thing that you get. 15.
That is not enough. So you will take half damage here. And here's hoping it's not enough to instant kill you. You have how many total hit points right now? 12?
12.
And what's your max?
49.
Okay, so you do not want me to roll 36 total damage. Is not that's enough to kill you. So you want me to roll less than a 72 here. It's an 85.
Does it take any damage?
It does. I want you to describe how this happens, because this isn't like, I'm not gonna instantly kill you, but this is a wound that Bjorn Gotram cannot come back from. And this is a change to history. But I'll allow you to describe exactly how this happens, what happens.
I literally look down a endless tunnel of darkness and see light building at the end of that tunnel, and hear crackling and hissing, and remember that my son is out there fighting. And remember how he looked at that moment where he said, "This is it, this is the moment." And I felt it running up those stairs. The ache in my bones, the vigor gone, the energy just depleted, and there's almost a charge of sudden clarity and energy that comes, and maybe it's the lightning literally coursing all around him, but he just slowly wraps his arthritic hand around the blade wedged in this thing's jaw, and very quietly just thinks to himself, "Almost done. Almost won." And I'm gonna take a knee, use the shield to lay it against my body, with my arm raised, holding me steady, trying to balance as this thing rears back. "You give him hell, boy." And I will just push into its throat as deep as I can at the second I feel that energy coming, trying to almost bottleneck it up and direct as much of it up through the top of its head as I can, to try and take this thing out of the fight for him.
Sir Riordan locked on the back with the Dragon High Lord as the two of you go tumbling. And you see an explosion of lightning, electricity through the neck of the dragon. It blows out through the side of this dragon's neck, not far away from you. And you see the silhouetted shape of your father, Björn, flying through that hole along the current of that electricity as the dragon crashes towards the ground. I need you to make me an athletics check.
23.
You're able to hold on if you wish, jump off if you wish, but the dragon is a second away from smashing into the ground. You can hear its choked screams. Its cry isn't terrifying anymore. It's pain, it's hurt. And as you're falling, this cornucopia, all of this light that's surrounding you, from the sun, from the electricity of the dragon, and now beams of light coming from the inside of the tower itself. Bright white lights shooting into different directions. And you know what these are too.
He's not going to try to go, but he's going to talk to the rider, and he's going to say, "It's not enough to win in this world. In this world, you're already beaten. You must win in them all. We are not for Huma's breast yet. My father and I will fight in every world. That is our life. Is Solaris with Mythos." And he just hugs her as they fall.
You can feel her pushing back against you, trying to fight you, but you're locked in this moment and gravity is pulling you both to the ground. You hear her whisper a word on the wind. It's quiet, echoing out barely from behind her helm a moment before you hit the ground. Liar. And then your world goes black with the force of the dragon striking the earth, the snow, the courtyard. You lose consciousness for several minutes. You're not sure exactly if it's 2 minutes or 30 seconds or 10 minutes. But when your eyes open up again, you can see that the battle's not over yet, but that Lorana's plan is working. That the dragons are being drawn inward, the other dragons, by the dragon orbs, that the knights are turning the day around. And as you, just like you did when you first came back here to this time, open your eyes to the blue skies and the bright morning light, you see there on the battlements, no longer alone, other knights with him, Sturm Brightblade, bow in hand, defending the keep. And as you kind of roll your head over and you're regaining your senses, you see in the snow Björn Gotram, his skin half blackened from the electricity, his eyes open, his chest split by the force of the magic, exposing lungs, heart, shattered ribs to the air. But his chest is still moving a little bit. And Björn's not gone yet. But you've never seen someone survive a wound like that.
He'd get over to him as quickly as he could. "We did it. Balance."
As you look down, imagine Björn's eyes are just clouded, if even still remaining, but there's no attempt to look in your direction. In his hand that wasn't sheltered behind the shield to give him sort of some leverage to hold in place, the sword is just black from the damage and lightning that was conducted through it, and it seems to have fused to the glove that is also equally blackened and charred. And he... Is that you, boy? Son?
I'm here. Always.
Some moment. A good moment. Doesn't look like one I'll be leaving anytime soon.
I believe we will both live here forever. In the moment.
Then it is a good moment.
It is.
How did you get to be so wise?
Blessed with a good father.
I never told you enough. You remind me of so many of the old guard. Old before your time.
You remind me of no one.
One last call to answer. Far beyond. I'll see you again.
Yes, you will. Over and over.
Then I guess until the next moment.
Until then, Father.
And I will, if I still have the strength, pull my sword to my chest, unable to release it even if I could, and hold it against the glistening remains and force what's left of a smile. Until the next one.
And as he watches him pass, Riordan would look up to the battlements, but then he'd be drawn to the fiery orb in the sky, the antithesis of the 3 moons that circle the planet at night, and a son's heart would shatter.
We move away from the battle, this moment, this changed moment in time. Sir Riordan, several years now have passed since the War of the Lance and your adventures in Nightland. Battles that you fought before came again, different this time in some ways. But there was always a balance. There's always a price that history demanded. Palanthus survived, and so did the Knights of Solamnia. It's now Yuletide evening, over a year after the Battle of Palanthus, a year after originally you had been taken out of your world into that other place. You're walking down the snow-blasted streets of Palanthus right now, returning from a frustrating council meeting where your voice and your opinion was not given equal weight compared to the more senior members of the knighthood. Thinking about battles past, perhaps. But it's a heavy and cold and peaceful snow tonight. It's a dark night, and the city's covered by this white blanket, and you find yourself walking along in the dockside district. I'm curious, how do you imagine Sir Riordan would have spent the past several years, where he would be now, how he would be the same, how he would be different?
The fight would always be there, but he probably would take more of a leadership role now that his body has gotten older and has been broken so many times. But he would probably be haunted, because he knows enough to keep his mind guessing which world is which. Is he where he started? It didn't turn out that way. He changed something, but he would have to move with almost a guessing. Is this the street I go down here? It troubles him. He's not sure if he fixed the balance or if he fixed the balance here. And so with that, he's grown old, haunted beneath his eyes, his skin loose on his bones. He's not that old, but his soul is.
And while Riordan struggles tonight, Yuletide, like many other nights, with understanding what the world is, which world he's in, this world keeps on living. There are lights from hearths and candles flickering in windows of the little homes that dot the dockside district. As you're walking through the heavy snows, you can hear the sounds of laughter from some of the homes, music, families sitting down together, eating. Life goes on in Palanthas, in this world, and you've played a part of that. Sir Riordan has fought for these people, and they're still here because of men like him, women like Lorana, knights like Sturm Brightblade. And with your ghosts accompanying you, Sir Riordan, this cold night, the wind blows past you. You can feel large flakes of snow touching your cheek. And you hear somewhere on the wind 2 words. I wish.
He finds peace in that moment.
And as Sir Riordan continues to walk into the heavy wintry fog, the snow catching on his armor and on the city streets around him, so ends May Black Roses Bloom, our tale of heroes and villains and time travel and woe. One of many tales lost and found in Dragonlance. From the Canticle of the Dragon, thus began the Age of Despair. The roads were tangled.
The winds and the sandstorms dwelt in the husks of cities.
The plains and mountains became our home.
As the old gods lost their power, we called to the blank sky.
Into the cold, dividing gray, to the ears of new gods.
The sky is calm, silent, unmoving. We have yet to hear their answer.
Their answer.
Their answer.
Their answer.
We have yet to hear their answer.